It's Matt Chapman, and I'm with Dominic White, who's with Zurich Insurance, and you're sitting in Zurich. Hi, Dominic.
Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thanks. So, Dominic, you joined Zurich Insurance in September 2017 to run Asia Pacific, and then in March this year was posted to Switzerland just before the pandemic broke out.
Yes, yeah. I was actually working from home in Hong Kong to move to Switzerland, which at the point that I moved wasn't in lockdown, but probably around 2-3 weeks later went into lockdown, and so been working from home for the past 4 months or so now.
Oh, right. So you were feeling it quite early being in Hong Kong before you left.
Yeah, getting used to it. Yeah.
So just tell everyone a little bit about your career background, because you've obviously, like many people that I'm close to, have had a very global background in your HR career. Tell us more.
So I guess I've just been really fortunate, actually. I started off as a graduate in a spirits and wine company, but actually in pub retailing in the UK, and had the opportunity then to move to Asia, based out of Singapore for a spirits business. Moved back to the UK to head up HR for a wine business, which was a new business bringing together existing and purchased organizations. And then I moved into banking. So I was with Standard Chartered for around about 11 years. And through that time, worked in Singapore on a group role, supporting technology operations, and then latterly moved into India. So I was based in Mumbai, covering South Asia. And then from there, I joined Generali, moved into insurance out of Hong Kong, did a regional APAC role there. And then from there, moved to Zurich, doing a similar sort of role. And then, as you say, recently landed up in Zurich in Switzerland, which is a very beautiful place to be.
Yeah, I bet, especially as you're coming into summer. And so now you're looking after the corporate centre and commercial insurance for Zurich.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, which really for us is kind of the functional areas, and then the commercial business as an add-on.
Yeah, and tell us about the scope and scale of Zurich Insurance in terms of the business and the geographical footprint.
So it is a global business. We've got our largest business is in America. We've got our North America Zurich business, and then we've got a partnership called Farmers, which is an exchange. And then we have quite a big presence in Europe. So our biggest markets are Switzerland, UK, Germany, but we're present in an awful lot more markets, different scale and size. We're not so large in the Middle East, although that's a growing area. And then Latin America, we were quite small. We purchased QBE's business probably around 2 years ago, and that's built up some scale there. And in Asia, again, we were quite small, but we acquired the business from ANZ, OPL, and also the Adira business in Indonesia, which helped create some scale. So interesting to see quite a growing business. Our commercial book is around 60%. So commercial insurance is quite a big component. And then obviously we've got retail, life insurance and general insurance. And we're about 55,000 people globally.
So describe what the last few months has been like for you as an HR leader, and also in your role with the company.
Yeah, busy probably is the one word. I think it's been a really fascinating mix. I mean, I think coming into a new role, it's actually been quite helpful because there's been something to do, and there's been a very clear focus around needing to respond as thoughtfully and effectively as possible. So that's helped in terms of building relationships and getting, relationships with my own team and with stakeholders and so on, because there's something very tangible to be working on. I think the challenge within all of that is that it's very easy to be very busy dealing with responding. I guess the point of reflection I have is kind of what are the more underlying issues that we need to be thoughtful about. And what are the unintended consequences for decisions that we're making now that we need to be really as thoughtful about as we can, so that we mitigate those or are sort of bringing in different insights that help us to avoid them.
Yeah. So you're in a time now where you're about to start returning to an office, or at least in a hybrid situation. So what sorts of issues are presenting themselves now that you're sort of through the initial shock, and as we sort of lead into this next chapter?
Yeah. Quite a few different things. I mean, I think our teams have responded incredibly well to sort of the work from home call. I think our IT teams have been fantastic. We've been able to be quite normal in how we've operated, although it's in an abnormal environment. I think when you've got a crisis like that, it's a bit easier to have the change management because everybody gets it. I think as we start to think about hybrid model, there's the challenge of people who've now got normalized into working from home and, have acknowledged and felt the advantages of that. So I think the sort of the attraction of going back to office work is something that, kind of wasn't as attractive as it would have been before the virus situation. I think also, I think it's relatively easy to deal with binary situations. If everybody's at home on Teams or on Zoom or whichever the platform is, that's quite straightforward. If everybody is physically co-located, that's also quite straightforward. The challenge is, do I want to be in the office, sat at my laptop looking at a Teams call all day? Well, I might as well be sat at home. So I think being thoughtful about why we get together, what is the purpose of our collaboration, of coming together as a team physically, is something that's raising, its head at the moment. And I think probably has always been the case, but I think we've been able to be quite complacent around it. And then I think the other key thing, which again is another existing issue, is how do you measure performance? I think again, historically it's been the complacency of I can see you, or I know that you're in the office for a period of time through the day. Now that you're not in the office, how do I reassure you reassure yourself and I reassure myself that you're being as effective and as efficient from a different location? So I think we're starting to get into elements that, I think would be helpful to get into, whether you are all co-located or you've got a mix of different models.
Yeah, it sort of brought these issues to the surface. They were always there.
Absolutely.
But they're now present. And have you got any views on the possible solutions or ideas to solve these?
I think one element that does start to raise itself again for debate. I don't have any, sadly, straightforward solutions that fix everything, but I think it raises the debate around how we reward and recognize people. So I think it isn't to avoid the idea of creating better measurement in terms of individual impact and performance, but many of the roles that we have are quite difficult to do that with. And I think it starts to get us into a conversation around, should we be thoughtful about more team-based reward approaches rather than just individual? I think also, kind of really being clear about what people's accountabilities are. I think that we, like many organizations, certainly that I've worked with, have an awful lot of meetings, and I think if that to me is a symptom, and it's probably a symptom of how clear we are about accountabilities or our desire for collective accountability. And I think that if we are able to be more crisp or clearer around where accountabilities reside, then one is that I may be too busy because I've got my own accountabilities to attend a meeting which is peripheral. And it may cause me to sort of say, well, why am I in this meeting? What's the point of that? Whereas historically, maybe I would have just, I'm invited, so I come, and then we have a nice discussion. And the outcome is that we should have another nice discussion. So I think it's got the opportunity for us to be a little bit sharper in terms of focus and what we expect from ourselves and from our teams.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's a beautiful air of efficiency and prioritization around what is really important and how we want to use our time.
Yeah, there is, and I think through this process, I think there's been a little bit of a reminder about how precious time is. I think we've seen people not traveling as much as they historically have. There is more opportunity to spend time at home. There is that realization of the commute and how long that can be certainly for some people. So I think there's been that recognition, and hopefully we can use that as a very positive influence to sort of be a little bit more judicious around, kind of where do I want to spend my time and what's the biggest impact.
Dominic, I'm keen to get your view on this. I foresee potentially a lot of chair changing in the future, particularly of those people who have choice. And the reason for that is, people realizing, listen, this job doesn't suit me, and this is not the best use of my time, or this leader isn't right, or this company isn't right, or I don't particularly want to be in this geography now. I want to go home or somewhere else. Do you get the same feeling?
I haven't felt that so much. I mean, a little difficult because the interaction has been virtual with people. I think there's definitely a need or a sense of how can we think about doing things very differently. So I suppose the way I look at it, and maybe it's a phase of what you're talking about, which is I think there's a need for us to think quite differently around how we get work done. And I think that if we're not able to create difference in the outcome of that, then we may get the chairs shifting. The sense that I have at present is that I don't feel like there's that automatic, I always had a problem here and now this has just brought a bigger realization. I think it's more around, I'd like to work differently than how I have. I'd like to be more thoughtful about where I'm spending my time. And I think we need to change. I think we've got a period of opportunity for people to start to be a part of that change and feel it. I think if we just feel that the elasticity of change springs back to where it was, then I think we'll have the problem you describe.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a window of opportunity, and we can't be complacent that we can misuse that window, because I think there is a chance that medium term, longer term, that the people could move. And I think we've also got to be aware that everyone else is thinking about the same thing. So we've got competition out there of innovation and possibilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what but for me, I think there's real positives. If it causes people to really pause and reflect on what do I really want to do, I think that's a good thing. I think organizationally it creates a challenge for us, but it's a different challenge because actually, if I didn't have that sort of conscious reflection and I just kept doing my job year on year on year, that in itself, has an opportunity cost, primarily for the individual, but also for the organization. So I think anything that causes a bit of a reflection and then a conscious choice is, I think, a positive thing.
And that was Dominic White with Zurich Insurance in Zurich. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Good to see you.